What if the greatest king in Israel's history used his power to take another man's wife? And no one stopped him. 2 Samuel 11:4 says, "Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her." That's it. No conversation, no consent, no details from Bathsheba's side. Just a king who wanted something and took it. Bathsheba was bathing as part of a purification ritual required by Jewish law, Leviticus 15:19. She was doing nothing unusual or seductive. David saw her from the palace rooftop, asked who she was, and sent for her, even after hearing she was married to Uriah, one of his loyal soldiers. Some have blamed her, calling her a temptress, or even suggesting she wanted to be seen. But Scripture doesn't support that. The focus is on David's actions. He saw, he wanted, and he acted. Bathsheba barely speaks in this entire story. When she becomes pregnant, David doesn't confess. He tries to cover it up, and when that fails, he arranges for Uriah to be killed in battle. The prophet Nathan later tells a parable comparing David to a rich man who steals a poor man's only lamb, 2 Samuel 12:1-4. God calls it evil. So who was Bathsheba, really? A seductress? Or a victim caught in the grip of royal power? Jerusalem, 10th century BCE. The city is growing, the monarchy is strong, and King David, warrior, poet, and ruler, is at the height of his power. From his palace rooftop, he can see into the private courtyards below. It's here that the story of Bathsheba begins. She is not a nameless figure. The text tells us her name, her father's name, Eliam, and her husband's name, Uriah the Hittite, a loyal soldier in David's army, 2 Samuel 11:3. These details matter. They place her within Israel's military and political structure. Eliam was the son of Ahithophel, one of David's counselors. Bathsheba's family wasn't obscure. She had connections but no protection that could stop a king. David stays behind in Jerusalem while his army goes to war, 2 Samuel 11:1. That's already a red flag. Kings were expected to lead in battle. Instead, David remains in comfort and sees Bathsheba bathing during her ritual purification after menstruation, a command from Leviticus 15:19. She isn't on a rooftop. She's following the law in private. David sees her, asks about her, and sends men to bring her to the palace. The Hebrew verb used, he took her, mirrors language used for seizure or control. She becomes pregnant. Uriah is recalled from the battlefield to cover up the affair, but refuses to enjoy the comforts of home while his men are intense. David's plan fails. He arranges Uriah's death on the front lines. After a period of mourning, Bathsheba becomes David's wife. The text offers no judgment yet, but later, the prophet Nathan delivers a brutal parable. The man had nothing except one little ewe lamb. He took the lamb and prepared it for the man who had come to him. 2 Samuel 12:3-4. David is that man. Bathsheba barely speaks. She doesn't resist, but she also doesn't seduce. The silence is striking and intentional. This wasn't just a private scandal. It shaped a dynasty. The question now is, how did Bathsheba survive it? She loses everything, her reputation, her husband, and her first child. What began with a glance from a rooftop ends in national grief and personal devastation. When the prophet Nathan confronts David, he doesn't just expose a private sin, he declares a judgment that will echo through David's house for generations. You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. Now therefore the sword will never depart from your house. 2 Samuel 12:9-10. This is the spiritual breaking point. David, God's anointed, has abused his power. She, silent through it all, now carries a child conceived in trauma. And then the child dies. Here the story could end in ruin. A woman used, a man condemned, a kingdom stained. But it doesn't. What comes next is easy to miss and hard to forget. David comforts Bathsheba, not out of guilt, not as a king making amends, but as a man who has lost a child with her. And in that moment, something shifts. The text gives her name again, Bathsheba, and says David lay with her, and she bore a son, and he named him Solomon. The Lord loved him, 2 Samuel 12:24. This is the first time we're told the Lord loved someone by name since Samuel's boyhood. It's not just a birth, it's a turning point in redemptive history. From this union, broken as it was, comes the future king through whom the messianic line will pass. Isaiah later prophesies about a coming king with the Spirit of the Lord upon him, a ruler who will judge with righteousness, not power. Isaiah 11:2-4. That king would come through Bathsheba's line. She wasn't just a victim. She became the mother of Solomon, the grandmother of kings. A woman with no voice in her first appearance would later speak with authority in the royal court. 1 Kings 1:11-17. This wasn't redemption yet, not fully. But something changed. Out of grief came a seed of promise. If this story gave you a new perspective, please leave a like. It helps more people find these forgotten corners of Scripture. Sometimes the Bible doesn't give us heroes or villains, just people. Broken, caught in systems they didn't choose, or weighed down by decisions they can't undo. Bathsheba's story lives in that space. She didn't ask to be seen. She didn't plan to lose her husband, and she certainly didn't expect to become the mother of Israel's next king. Yet somehow, in the wreckage of betrayal and grief, God wasn't absent. We're used to stories where justice is quick and clear. This one isn't. David repents, but the consequences are real. Bathsheba suffers, but she's not erased. Instead, she re-emerges, not as a victim frozen in time, but as a woman who learns to speak, to act, and to shape history. When she approaches King David later to secure Solomon's place on the throne, 1 Kings 1:15-21, she does so with clarity and courage. She isn't just surviving, she's leading. Maybe you've been through something you didn't choose. Maybe someone else's decision changed your life. You're not alone in that. Her story is a reminder that being silenced doesn't mean being forgotten, that God can work even in the aftermath of deep injustice, not by undoing the past, but by creating something new out of it. One verse, tucked away in Isaiah's prophecy of the coming Messiah, puts this into focus. A bruised reed he will not break, and a faintly burning wick he will not quench. Isaiah 42:3. That's who God is. Not the one who crushes the bruised, but the one who restores them. Bathsheba's name isn't just preserved in Scripture. It's honored in the lineage of Christ, Matthew 1:6. That's not just history, it's hope. If this story made you see something differently about Bathsheba, about God, or maybe even about yourself, share it with someone who needs that same reminder. And tell us in the comments, what part of Bathsheba's story changed how you read it? Thank you so much for watching and being part of this journey through Scripture. Your time, attention, and hunger for truth mean more than you know.